Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video, and today I will take a look at why Frieren is so overpowered, how she gained her strength, and of course about her character herself. No, not like that. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel and say my thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And before we start, there's also a full-length companion video about why elves would be realistically overpowered in almost any fantasy setting. Check it out, it's linked down in the video description. And with that said, let's dive into the topic at hand. Frieren is one of those anime protagonists that you rarely come across. She is overpowered, maybe as overpowered as Einzelgon from Overlord, or Sid from Eminence in the Shadows, but she doesn't possess Ein's omnipotent aura, or Sid's viciousness. Frieren, as her name suggests, appears very cold and indifferent, while quietly honing her magical abilities and strength for over a millennium. And with that said, let's take a look at her backstory first. Frieren was the sole survivor after demons invaded her village, committing a massacre among the other inhabitants. Naturally, Frieren sought revenge. Being a powerful caster, she was taken in as the apprentice of Flamme, another skilled and later legendary magician. Flamme, a demon hunter, taught Frieren how to understand demons, how to suppress her own mana, to avoid detection, and to deceive them into thinking that you are weaker, how to understand the demons' thoughts and actions, and comprehend their social structure and society, where power and authority are synonymous with mana, all with one goal in mind: defeating the Demon King. However, Flamme knew that she herself wouldn't accomplish this task in her own short lifespan. Hence, she entrusted Frieren with completing her life's work. Frieren was to hide in secret and from history until the Demon King's end, while continuously growing stronger. In essence, she embarked on the opposite path of what Kazuma did in Konosuba, fighting one demon general after another, thus drawing a ton of attention towards him while remaining weak. Frieren utilized this time to accumulate spells and train her magical abilities and mana. Over decades and centuries, her mana reserves grew significantly. Fun fact, while in Mushoku Tensei, for example, one's own mana reserves increase through training only until the onset of one's puberty, in Frieren's world, you could continue to expand your own mana pool with training, even hundreds of years later. Thus, Frieren trained for centuries, always with the goal of defeating the Demon King one day in mind. Essentially her life, until around 80 years ago, consisted of an extended training arc. Due to this, she became incredibly powerful. But there were still some who could sense the power of an individual, despite the suppressed mana. Because while demons rely on assessing the opponent's mana reserves to estimate their strength, Frieren and Himmel, through intuition alone, recognized that Flamme and Frieren were indeed formidable. Furthermore, we need to talk about her character. My goodness, does Frieren possess an iron will, considering that she lived on the fringes of society for many centuries. She still upheld the oath that she had sworn to her mentor Flamme, despite her incredible magic power, not to draw attention to herself, to hide from history. And the aim was to deny the demons an opportunity to study her weakness and combat tactics with this continued stealth over centuries. Frieren essentially lived on the outskirts of society and alone for a very, very long time. And yet, she never betrayed her oath, and she practiced her craft quietly, hiding herself for more than a millennium. Silently and discreetly, she grew stronger and stronger. And perhaps this ability to implement her plan in the long term, over the decades and centuries, was her greatest strategy and strength. However, Frieren is not, I would say, mentally overpowered and can endure danger and stress in an unlimited manner. On the contrary, the struggle she faces in the morning, most of us are very familiar with. It's one of life's greatest struggle. The struggle to get up, which only part of me can accomplish, without any struggle at all, which is relatable to almost everyone, especially in winter when it's cold outside. It just makes sense and makes her feel so genuine. I mean, think about your summer vacation, your student life, or that one time when you were neither in education, employment, or training for more than half a decade. Also known as childhood. Getting up early was probably not your favorite thing to do. This aspect is extremely relatable, and as mentioned, Frieren has accustomed herself to being alone for centuries and millennia. Her lifestyle has become more ingrained than perhaps any habit or internal clock. Or maybe she just likes to sleep in like most of us. And these little mistakes and character flaws and habits make Frieren much more relatable than like a human that has no flaws and is a shining example of perfection. You know, the typical hero archetype. And I really do appreciate that Frieren has these quirks and imperfection. And speaking of which, her attitude towards other humans who refuse to acknowledge that demons are inherently evil is simply brilliant. Frieren likely warned people for decades or centuries not to believe the words of a demon, and she probably ran into deaf ears many times. Yet, she decided to wait and let people learn from their mistakes. As the saying goes, he who does not hear must feel. After people realized that Frieren was right, she then can explain why no one should trust the word of a demon before she has to play janitor and clean up the mess the demons were about to make. And thus, sooner or later, she will make it clear to the last village idiot that for demons, language is simply just another tool, another weapon in their arsenal to deceive gullible and naive humans who want to believe in the good within all living things. In addition, I simply have to mention and appreciate the constant lo-fi vibe that the animation transports. It is simultaneously melancholic, sad, and soothing to watch this anime. The light pastel look, the calm and almost tranquil way of speaking, and the many scenes where really not much is happening are a wonderful contrast to the constant action and rushed storytelling which we are quite familiar with from many other anime, especially light novel adaptations, where 3 novels worth of content need to be pressed in a dozen or so episodes. In those, a lot is quickly lost, and most scenes don't really get the polish and the time they deserve. The Frieren anime takes its time, and we had the only proper fight after just half a dozen episodes or so. And this was a welcome change. And it's beautiful to see that an anime takes time for all of the little things. Just like Frieren did. Moreover, when Frieren really gets going, it becomes downright brutal. Instead of halting the action and explaining power mechanics, Frieren was at Draht's throat within 3 seconds, and effortlessly severed both of his arms in the process. Well, harmless and armless are just one letter away after all. But, just to be sure, Frieren also crushed his throat in an instant, and the fight scene with Aura the guillotine was simply brilliant. Frieren is so experienced in combat and has killed so many demons in her long life before that she knew most battle tactics by heart now. And the original title, Soso no Frieren, literally means Frieren the Slayer, which also indicates that she knows how to defeat demons from experience, to say the absolute least. So of course, Aura would try to let her soldiers fight against Frieren to weaken her, to make her expand mana, before she can be sure that she has more mana than her, in order to control Frieren with that scale of hers, only to then realize that Frieren has much more mana than she does, since she has suppressed her own mana for basically an eternity, which ultimately meant her own downfall, Frieren used the entire battle to study aura. She used it to gain experience. And she wanted to understand the demon strength further, so that she could combat them more effectively. And Frieren, up to this point, didn't know how demons perceived your opponent's mana output, and that they can perceive even the slightest changes and inconsistencies in their mana output. This knowledge, in Frieren's hand, now becomes another weapon. And thanks to her continued study, Frieren becomes stronger and stronger. She acquires more and more spells, more knowledge, and more training, and accumulate more and more power that way. And all of this is shown to us, and not simply told, which I greatly appreciate. So, in conclusion, one might say that Frieren is kind of a lo-fi doomslayer. She is cold in her revenge against demons, calculating, and lacks the hot, bitter rage of the doomslayer, who rampages through hell like a berserker, and turns demons into modern art. Okay, and with that said, now it's your turn. Please let me know your thoughts and ideas about Frieren, her character, and her power, and of course, about the anime and the video itself. And while you type, let me quickly thank you very much for watching and say my special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Thirashivan, Guy with That Hat, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia Viffy Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Mervek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Okill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrinekeeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.